I'm recording this on my 10th anniversary of playing War Thunder, the 20th of May, 2023. Become a 10-year veteran as of today. And I've been sitting on the sidelines over the last 48 to 72 hours just looking at what the community has been sprouting. You know, I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised the community didn't buckle earlier with what Gaijin had been putting up with. And the community's put up with too much. So what do? You know, I'm sitting here on the sidelines, so just sort of minding my own business, you know, just trying to have a quiet night. And then this article pops up in my inbox. Essentially, how progression and economy is built in free-to-play games and War Thunder in particular. No, that is a key cautionary tale. They don't mention anything else, but they're going to now have the audacity to tell us how free-to-play games work in general. I presume that that's going to be an interesting thing, considering this article is written by Kryl Udinsev, the creative director of Gaijin, and apparently they think he's best suited to explain all this. All I can think of is that little meme where he goes, money. Anyway, we're going to go over this. There are other posts on Reddit that have detailed responses and update, especially since some of them have actually been removed from the forums and not Reddit and have been taken down. There is a post by Toshiba the Zombie on Reddit which has 1.8k upvotes. I highly recommend you read that one. It goes over some of the interesting points and details. So I'm going to cover my own take on it though. Essentially, there is a bunch of bullshit inside this thing. They're basically deferring the blame to the players for our stupidity and not knowing how a free-to-play game works, okay? Thing is, the players know what a free-to-play game is. We know this because we play the game. And if it wasn't for your constant degradation of rewards or introductions of more high-tier premiums or unfoldering vehicles, for example, you know, then maybe we'd actually have some sense of progression, which we'll get into in a moment. Player progression is essential. You can't give a player everything at once because it will overwhelm and make the game very difficult for them, and they will either leave or almost immediately. Okay, I didn't read the sentence wrong, but essentially what they're saying there is, oh, if you have everything and give the players everything at once, they will leave. One, that's not necessarily true. Look, I'm a content creator. I have almost everything. I haven't left just yet. There's so many things I haven't experienced and I haven't done in War Thunder yet. Am I leaving? No, but again, not exactly the case scenario here. Look, most players, if given the opportunity to play a vehicle or get given a vehicle, they will play that. They will learn how to play those vehicles. They will tactically go in and use and try and have a bunch of fun, or even try and learn some of those sort of more advanced capabilities you tell us in this. Later vehicles are almost more difficult to learn to play and tactically in the controls and capabilities. Progression provides opportunities for gradual learning and engaging the players. Without it, the game will lose players right from the start. Okay, losing players is one thing. That just happens naturally with free-to-play games and in video games in general. People lose interest, people move on. That's life. But you're claiming that the progression provides opportunities for gradual learning, which, you know, you haven't necessarily done. Simply put, because there is, well, rank 7 and rank 6 premiums. You know, if you want people to actually learn how to play the game, why have you put $70 premiums in the game, alright? Anyway, doesn't make sense. You know, you may as well have separated the tech trees when everybody was saying separate the tech trees back in, you know, 2015, when it was evident that more Cold War vehicles were appearing in a World War II setting. You know, nobody really wants to play the World War II side of things, so let the players choose. Do they want World War II or do they want the Cold War and the more modern stuff? Would have been a simpler way of going about it, but they won't do that and they won't make that change simply because it makes them an absolute ton of money because, well, the progression is so bad that you actually are incentivized to spend money in order to progress that. Anyway, where were we? In addition, progression serves as one of the basics of how a game makes money. Basically, players pay for the acceleration of progression. Okay, that makes sense. That's generally how free-to-play games work. The fundamental difference between paid games and their fair play free-to-play games is that you don't have to play free games, and most players don't actually pay. All right. That's a sentence. I don't have anything else against that one. Most War Thunder players, about 80%, have never paid a dime into the game, and whilst paying for months, or playing for months and years, many of those players who have paid for something in the game don't pay every month, and sometimes not every year either. Nevertheless, all of the maintenance to the game, all of its development, service and support is provided by those players who pay. Okay, yes, it is, but you, 80%, where did you pull that figure out? Most players, about 80%. 80% of what? Are you going to share those details? Are you going to share what the data you collect from the player base is? No, you're never going to share that. That's information like how many kills are getting an XY vehicle to feed your stupid automated algorithm that determines the battle rating and the repair costs. You know, it's quite funny. I've talked about this before. Essentially, it's impossible to balance over 2,000 vehicles in War Thunder. So, you know, 80% of what? You're quantifying something that you're saying that only 20% of players pay? The amount of terms you sold when it first introduced, the amount of KA50s that have sold. Look, I'm a content creator, and I will admit I get a 3% kick out of some of the things that you guys buy with my decal, link in the description. And the amount of money that you guys have spent giving money directly to Gaijin based off of that is enormous. I'm only one content creator, and you've already spent, well over, I think it was, last time I tallied it up, was $125,000 US just on my link alone. Now, am I getting all that $125,000? No. But there is like 50 to 60 other content creators with decals, and you can only imagine how much money is being fed into that. So, and then there's obviously Flavor of the Month every sort of guaranteed time, where there's always a vehicle that is slightly outperforming everything else and slightly doing better than everything else. And at every single tier, there seems to be a vehicle which does this. So, I don't know. You're pulling a statistic out the arse about people who don't pay. I know many people in the community who have used it as their Netflix subscription. They might, instead of, watching Netflix or Amazon, they might go and, spend $20 every month on the game. So, I don't know. Yeah, you are correct in all of the maintenance, the game and development of servers and support provided by the players who pay, but that's kind of arbitrary when you're basically making the grind so bad that people have to buy something in order to make ends meet, and that's the core reason why people are boycotting. In any game, players only have In any game, players play only when they have fun, but in free-to-play games, players only pay if the game really entertains them. The player is already paying, already having fun, and pays if they want to support the game or try something new, which is at the same time not necessary to enjoy the game. Otherwise, they would just quit playing and not pay at all. Okay, this paragraph sort of doesn't really make a great deal of sense. If players are only playing when they have fun, that doesn't really make sense either. In War Thunder's case, you are not paying to have fun, but you're paying to progress. And that progression is also half the fun, but you can't really say that, the player is already paying. No, we're not already paying. Your stupid little decisions have forced people to pay for something that should be in the game as a default rather than always having fun. Having fun is not a metric for having to pay for something. If they want to support the game, they will support the game if the game is good. Not because they have a crippling debt problem and they really need to sort of play the game or buy a premium vehicle in their given favourite nation because they need to use that to unlock vehicles, because if they play their regular favourite vehicles, they'll run out of money because you've increased the modifiers of rewards or earnings at all the time. Like, you're rewarding people who even have been loyal to the game by saying, right, we have to pay more money in order to, then the next statement just gives me an aneurysm. Hence the unobvious conclusion: the less you have to pay to play the game, the more differently priced paid options it should have. But the problem is, those vehicles you have on offer for fun, as it's in quote, play for free and have fun, quote, are bloody terrible. There are many progression and economy options in free-to-play games. Not all of them are suitable for our game because War Thunder is about real combat vehicles, which are not equal and differing in power and capabilities. To quickly summarise though, the general principles of the economy and progression in our game. Vehicles should be unlocked gradually from simpler to older and to more complex and latter. The total time to get the first top vehicles should be balanced, not too long, not too short, the number of game hours. Oh boy, here we go. And it must make money without a paywall so that you can play indefinitely without paying anything. So there is no deception about the game is free when in fact it's not. Okay, so you've just self-admitted that you have to pay in order to play this game. Yeah, I don't get it. You've bounced from one statement to the next. You're tossing the blame around for the fact that we don't know what a free-to-play game is. This whole entire segment here doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen. It's very, very ironic. It shouldn't take years to grind something, even with a premium account. Look at me. I've just unlocked all the aircraft and it's taken me 10 years. And I'm a content creator and I get given a shit. You know, it would take you 20 years to unlock some of this stuff. But the grind is too long, and countless content creators have basically pointed this out constantly, and yet you just sit there going, oh, well, there must be something wrong with the modifiers then. Yeah, and then you constantly, continually badgering the community by adding, new economy nerfs gradually over the period of 6 to 12 months. I don't think they realise that this isn't just about the review bombing right now. This is about what's been happening over the last few years. Progression and economy should, as far as possible, provide a variety of vehicles encountered in battle. Otherwise it's just boring, i.e. there shouldn't be too many farming vehicles, and especially if they're strategically stronger in battles, otherwise only the same popular vehicles will appear in battle. Alright, KF50s, Terms, XM1s, Leopard whatevers, it's very ironic that you say this, yet there are hundreds of vehicles at top tier which predominantly play top tier. Look, when New Power came out in 2020, most of the premium vehicles were either Harriers or various other vehicles. Then you added a premium A10, then you added a premium SU-25, and then we're getting more of those coming up soon. So When high-tier realistic battles are dominated by things like the SU-25 in the same capability as Tech Tree version, Premium Phantoms offer better play than most of the Tech Tree Phantoms. The T-72 Terms and the Panzer Battalion are extremely good vehicles, and stuff like they are better than their BR peers, so why would anyone not use them for farming? Again, more statements from you that do not correspond with your business decisions. In a game with so many vehicles and modes, it is impossible to manually adjust the in-game economy. Okay, yet you still fiddle with it every single bloody month. It's important that it obeys specific rules and manual changes to them that would skew a vehicle's effectiveness, making some vehicles bad and others much better than average, and thus affecting their occurrence in battles. What statistics? Win rates, we've seen that is utterly ineffective. A few good players in niche vehicles artificially get a high win rate and earn that vehicle basically a nerf, as proven by the Canadian F-86 Sabre incident, where they were proving that your automated algorithm, which determines how and what and why a player is doing something, is completely arbitrary. Just because a vehicle is really overperforming in a niche category doesn't mean that it's a good vehicle overall. And then you go and change the repair cost on it, or the reward on the vehicle, and the vehicle basically disintegrates and be's completely and utterly useless. Look at the G91YS, for example, an aircraft that is horribly over-tiered, but also you can't under-tier it because it's too good, and you can't give it countermeasures because it'll be overpowered, but then in the same battle ratings that it fights, you're fighting hordes of Su-25s and various other premium vehicles. And then it goes on, key parameters and blah, 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 balance, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care. Look, that paragraph there doesn't need to exist. This work takes many weeks. Yeah, I'm sure it does. You just look at a spreadsheet and see what's changed in terms of green and red, and then you just adjust correctly. Oh no, how poor of a job could that be? I understand it's hard balancing 2,000 vehicles, but you have no right to sort of sit there and this work takes many weeks, yet you're doing so many changes every single month. We are no doubt open to other suggestions, and we have many of our own, but we doubt that a complete transformation of the progression into something completely new will be accepted by many players. No matter how much we'd like to do it ourselves, okay, no matter how much we'd like to do it ourselves, that's an excuse for, we're going to blame the players for our ineptitude of being able not to make any game modes or any interesting economy changes. We try to come up with something new in the progression, and we'll definitely consider all of your suggestions. No, you won't. You won't. You're not gonna accept anything, because you act like you're open to suggestions, and then the community is getting fed up with responses for the devs, which are sarcastic. Then you publish news and stuff like this that sound totally condescending and talk down to the players like it's our fault, right? Point in case, your news point about the economy reversal. We regret that our actions to balance the economy are often poorly explained and not transparent to you. In future, we will try our best to talk about the changes we plan to do earlier, in more detail and clearly, as well as listen to the feedback that you offer more carefully. No. You explain it perfectly fine. It's just a poor decision from your end. Don't turn it around on us and imply that we, the player base, didn't actually understand. If you're going to issue an apology, make it an apology. We value our players and our game, not our updates and changes. Okay, so you value your players' opinion. You want a positive reputation in the community, but you don't care for your updates and changes. Is there something wrong here? You don't care for your updates and changes. Well, that's apparent, because or else we wouldn't be boycotting. If we know that the majority of the community doesn't want an update, we cancel or revert it immediately. Okay, you don't normally do that. You could have the most calm, constructive criticism of a object or some sort of implementation of a game mechanic or something, and you will toss it completely out the window and ignore it. You can have 50 people send you the same nicely worded essays about how this thing, you'll just ignore it, you'll chuck it out. You only respond, Gaijin Entertainment, I'm talking directly to you, you only ever respond when it's close to, well, the players basically doing what we've done here, either review bombing or basically spamming the living daylights out of the thread, the forums, any of your live streams, any of your videos, any sort of social media presence that you have in order to change or stop a change from going through. Even then, you ban us from those platforms. You remove posts from forums, you remove stuff from warthunder Live. You basically go through cleansing everything on Steam and doing the same on your social medias. So I don't think it's, we don't want an update or we revert it immediately, even if some part or supports and other parts of, opposes. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be people that oppose and support whatever they want. We prefer conservatively do not harm principle. Oh, do you now? Nullifying in-game prices and so on and so forth, just for your own good. So of course, a review on Steam is a form of expression. However, majority of new players look at the score evaluation and do not need to read text reviews. I'm sorry, but when you're buying a brand new game or you're looking to play a new game, what is the first thing you do on Steam? You look at the Steam reviews. If it is overtly negative over the last period of days, your opinion on that might have shifted. So review bombing does damage to the game. Yes, yeah, exactly. You're self-aware. It's so funny. It really is. Because this means that you rarely listen. The very fact that you responded to the review bombs, it means that the community has actually done something about the changes and proof that, you for once are taking us very seriously, and then the numbers and stats are the only things that matter with this. Radical revolutionary changes in the games that have been around for years are always difficult to make, because they'll almost certainly break gameplay for a significant part of the players. We try to proceed according to the principle of do not harm and change the game carefully. However, if a topic receives a lot of support from the community, we do everything possible to support the players. We commit to follow the feedback even more carefully in the future and take it into account when defining parts of our development of the game. I sincerely hope that they're going to actually take the feedback more carefully, because this is the time where if you guys are going to be submitting feedback, now is the time to just submit your feedback en masse. Taking a look at the warthunder store page, recent reviews are sat at mostly negative. That has gone up a considerable amount. It started at about 8,000 when I had a look. Having a look at the reviews, let's show a graph. There you go. Mostly negative. And this, telling the players, talking down to the players about how the free-to-play games work, is the most tone-deaf response I have seen in years. So, from the community, and with thanks to the Reddit post by Toshiba the Zombie. And on behalf of the community and some of the other content creators, Gaijin, go fuck yourself.